well, I started playing drums when I was probably 10. I got my first kid, and of course, garage bands and bands all through middle school and high school. And I was a jock for a while, but then I realized in high school that the program was pretty crazy, for football. So I got out of that and became a band boy, and so devoted myself to music all through high school, stage band, concert band. And then after graduating, I had made a couple of trips to Austin and really wanted to come up here, but I went ahead and went into Texas Tech. I think I just tell everybody I majored in staying out of Vietnam, basically. They had a college deferment program if you kept a B average. And I got married right out of high school too, and had a kid, so instantly responsibility was heaped on my shoulders. But I moved to Austin in '72. Actually, a little band that was looking for a drummer came to Lubbock, and we played together for a couple of hours. And they said, "Well, this is going to work." A little band called Pepper, and I came up to Austin in '72 and started playing. It was just a three-piece rock and roll band, doing mostly rock clubs, frat gigs, stuff like that. We're making as a three-piece band, we're making pretty good dough, and so I brought my wife and kid up about 3 months later. Got a place set up and brought them up, and that band I worked in that band for a couple of years, and then started going down to the one night down on 7th and Red River. Right now it's called Stubbs Barbecue. It was originally the one night club. And I started going down there for my friends of mine. Said, "Yeah, this is really a good place to be. No cover, dollar pitchers of beer." It was, and so I started hearing blues bands like Storm, D.K. Little, and Power Play, Drew Pennington, Red River. I guess it was called River City Rockets or something like that. And I think I must have heard Paul Ray and the Cobras down there a couple of times, but started hanging out there. I really hadn't a chance to experience blues music much living in Lubbock. You either played rock and roll or country in Lubbock, and I didn't really get into the blues style. I kind of came to Austin and started listening to some of those bands. I said, I like this music a lot better than what I'm doing. And had a chance to meet Keith Ferguson outside the one night, and told him how much I loved that music and hadn't really had a chance to play it. And he said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I know a band that's looking for a drummer." And so we get in my pickup, drive across Austin to a little club called Bevo's over on the Drag. And he introduces me to W.C. Clark and Angela Straley, who had a band called Southern Feeling at the time. And their drummer's getting ready to leave and go to Boston. I think he was actually going to go to school in the Berklee School of Music up there. And so Keith said, "Well, here's Rodney. He's looking for a gig." And so WC said, "Well, you want to just start the next set?" And I was going, "Oh God, what have I got myself into?" And I was a little bit nervous about that because I hadn't really ever played with a blues band. But some of my favorite bands were the Meter, Little Feat, Tower of Power. I was really into that kind of funky stuff. And so luckily, the bass player with that band was a little black guy named Hambone. I didn't really know what his real name was, but everybody called him Hambone. And Derek O'Brien was playing guitar with him at the time. And so I got there and played 3 or 4 songs, and me and Hambone clicked right away, had a good groove going. And so WC said, "If you want the gig, you got it." So I started playing with Southern Feeling, worked with them for a couple of years, and finally decided I wanted to move into a different direction. And at the time, Paul Ray and the Cobras, they had worked with a drummer named Big John, a black guy named Big John. I think Freddie Farrow had played a little bit with them. Maybe Doyle Bramhall Sr. had played with them a little bit, but they were looking for some reason needed a drummer, and so I said I'd love to do it. And so since they had seen me play a lot with Southern Feeling, and Angela and WC and Denny Freeman and Paul and Alex Napier, all those guys were great friends. Actually, I think that Denny Freeman and Alex Napier played with Southern Feeling for a long time and left the band shortly before I joined the band. That's when they got Derek on guitar, and Angela Straley was still the vocalist. And to make a long story short, I started working with Paul Ray and the Cobras. I'm going to guess it might have been 74, 75, something like that. And we were playing every Wednesday at, I think it's Wednesdays at the one night. And, probably did some back then there was, maybe 5 or 6 clubs in Austin, and all the bands just kind of like musical chairs. I mean, would play there. There was a really great blues club out on way out on Brody Lane. Right now it's about where Brody and Davis is. There was a club called Alexander's Place where a great guy and his wife, the Alexander family, I think he basically had a 3-car garage he turned into a nightclub. And but he made great barbecue. It's the first time I ever had a rib sandwich. It's just a couple of pork ribs on 2 slices of bread with some barbecue sauce. I'm going, well, this is interesting. How do you eat that? Well, you just disassemble it. Anyway, to make a long story short, Alexander's Place, the back room was actually, which ended up being really a rock and roll club, was hiring blues bands back then. I played a lot there with Southern Feeling. And, of course, the one night. And then Soap Creek's Saloon started happening, which was actually went through Zilker Park. As soon as you got through Zilker Park in the 70s, you were in the hill country. There wasn't really much development out there in Westlake Hills. I mean, by the time you got through there, you were out in the hill country. But you drove about a mile past Zilker Park, took a left, and went about a mile down this terrible dirt road. And there's this old roadhouse called Soap Creek Saloon. And so we, at that time, were looking for, of course, more places to play. You wanted to almost play every night if you could to try to make enough money to make a living in Austin. So